Ferrari celebrated the team's 1,000th Grand Prix start in Mugello at the Tuscan Grand Prix and have become the most successful team in Formula One history over the course of the 70 years Formula One has been in existence, with 15 drivers and 16 constructors' championships. Fangio, Lauda, Ascari, and Schumacher just some of the great drivers who have been champion with Ferrari. But with no driver's title since 2007, when Kimi Raikkonen ambushed the McLarens of Alonso and Hamilton to grab the championship, and starved of constructors' glory since 2008, several drivers have tried and failed to return Ferrari's fortunes to those in the mid-2000s when Michael Schumacher was behind the wheel. Ferrari have been here before, though, with 21 years between Jody Scheckter's triumph in 1979 and Schumacher ending the drought in 2000. My name is Aaron, and this is the 5 Red Lights channel. So here are 5 drivers who should have won the title with Ferrari, but didn't. Alain Prost. After taking the 1989 title in controversial circumstances, Prost headed from McLaren to Ferrari and joined Nigel Mansell at Maranello. As the defending champion, he expected to be the number 1 driver, although Mansell had driven well for the team in the season before, winning in Brazil and Hungary, scoring 38 points. Prost's demands for lead driver status helped cause an uneasy partnership with Mansell, but this did not stop Prost claiming 5 victories as he and Senna went head-to-head for the title again. The Ferrari 641, designed by Steve Nichols, was well suited to Prost's smooth driving style, and the development work led by Prost allowed the car to remain competitive. Prost would eventually miss out on his 4th World Championship, the infamous crash in Suzuka at the start with Ayrton Senna ending his hopes. 1991 was heralded as the dawn of Prost and Ferrari leading the way in the Ferrari 642, but the car had not been developed nearly enough over the winter, with both Williams and McLaren stealing a march on the Scuderia. The 643 was brought into action at the 1991 French Grand Prix, but despite taking 2nd place in Manicours, was unable to turn around the fortunes of Prost and Ferrari that season. As tension rose between Prost and the team, Prost was eventually sacked before the season concluded, as politics ripped through the team and management changes were made. The Frenchman took a sabbatical in 1992 before joining Williams in 1993 for the 4th championship of his career, while Ferrari fell into semi-obscurity in the mid-1990s. Over the course of his Ferrari career, Prost scored 14 podiums, 5 of which were victories, 105 points, plus 2 that were admitted over the 1990 scoring system, which was also his better season with Ferrari. Fernando Alonso. Replacing 2007 champion Kimi Raikkonen, Alonso's time at Ferrari made the perfect start, with victory in the 2010 Bahrain Grand Prix in a 1-2 finish. Returning Felipe Massa took P3 in Australia, but the team failed to score another podium until Canada, their only podium appearance before the German Grand Prix, where a car update had moved Ferrari closer to the front. Alonso took the win in Hockenheim with more than a little help from Massa. Fernando's momentum grew, and he would eventually lead the championship going into the final round, having been 50 points behind at the halfway stage of the year. However, the Spaniard missed out to Red Bull's Sebastian Vettel after getting stuck behind the Renault of Vitaly Petrov in the season finale in Abu Dhabi. Fast forward to the season finale of 2012, and Alonso was again battling Vettel for the title. The F2012 was a flawed car, 1.5 seconds off pole position in the opening round. Alonso took memorable wins in Sepang, having fended off Sauber's Sergio Perez, and his consistency had him leading the championship after wins in Valencia and Germany. The first corner pile-up at the Belgian Grand Prix dented Alonso's advantage, but a DNF in Suzuka gave all the momentum to Vettel and Red Bull, who had won 4 races across Asia to seize control of the championship. Fernando had produced a season of the ages, but ultimately 2nd place in the final race in Sao Paulo was not enough to deny Vettel his 3rd World Championship in a row. During his 5 years in the Scarlet of Ferrari, Fernando made 43 podium appearances, with 11 of them being wins. He racked up 1,190 points for Ferrari, with the points scoring system changing at the start of 2010 to its current format. Alonso's best season was arguably 2012, where he scored 278 points, but he did manage 5 wins in 2010. Felipe Massa. Felipe came closest to all of those who were on this list. He was even champion for 30 seconds, but then this happened.
And is that clock going slowly?
It is, it's clock! Oh my goodness me! Hamilton's back in position again!
Having had to play a backup role to Kimi Raikkonen's outside hopes in 2007, 2008 saw the roles reversed at Ferrari. Massa trailed by 7 points going into his home race in Brazil. He stuck the Ferrari on pole and led the race for nearly the entirety. His championship rival Lewis Hamilton, on the other hand, started and ran 4th early on, but fell to 5th in the pit stop shuffle when the rain came towards the end. Importantly, the Toyota of Timo Glock had stayed out on dry tyres. With Massa serenely in the lead, Hamilton lost a place to Vettel on lap 69. 6th place was not good enough for the British driver, and he desperately searched for a way past the Toro Rosso. All the while, Felipe Massa roared across the line, igniting raptures in the stands and feverish excitement amongst his family. Fernando Alonso came in 2nd, Kimi Raikkonen took 3rd, and Timo Glock was running 4th on the dry tyres, but struggling for tyre temperature. As Vettel and Hamilton approached the Junção corner, they came across a slowing Glock. The pair dived through and Hamilton crossed the line in 5th place, and that was the minimum he required for title glory. Massa's family thought he'd done it, only to have their joy crushed by a Ferrari mechanic. Felipe's tears on the podium told the whole story, but he showed tremendous courage to celebrate his victory on the day. Felipe would never again challenge for the title, suffering a near-fatal accident in Budapest in 2009, and then being partnered with Fernando Alonso from 2010 to 2013. He moved to Williams in 2014 for the final years of his F1 career. Felipe's long Ferrari career, starting in 2006, brought him 33 podiums, 11 where he stood on top of it, with a total of 789 points. His best season with the Scuderia was undoubtedly 2008, where he was champion for 30 seconds. He scored more points in 2010, but if you adjust the 2008 results to the 2010 scoring system, he totals 240 instead of 97. Felipe did help Ferrari claim both of their last 2 Constructors' crowns alongside Kimi Raikkonen in 2007 and 2008. Gilles Villeneuve. The speed and flamboyance of Gilles was undeniable, but he failed to become world champion. His best opportunity was in 1979, where he won 3 races, although his most memorable moment from that season was his 3-lap battle with René Arnoux in Dijon. He obeyed team orders and remained behind his fellow Ferrari driver Jody Scheckter in Monza, which curtailed his bid to be world champion that year, despite having led the standings after the first 4 races, following wins in South Africa and in America. Whether Gilles would have got another viable shot at the title is unknown, but his 1982 teammate Didier Pironi was leading the standings when his career was ended at the 82 German Grand Prix after a collision that broke his legs. Villeneuve's replacement in 82, after his death, Patrick Tambay, scored 25 points in his 7 races, after taking the seat 3 rounds following Villeneuve's death in Belgium. Given Pironi and Tambay's performances, it could be safe to think that Gilles would have challenged for the title in 1982 against Didier Pironi, had both seen out the season. It could have become a defining rivalry for the 80s. That said, one that may have eclipsed it in Prost versus Senna was not far away. With so many unknowns about how Gilles may have fared had his career continued, 1979 is his only real season of note in terms of going for the championship. Although had every race counted that season rather than just the best 4 results from the first 7 races and the best 4 results from the final 8, Scheckter would have actually been 9 points better off than Villeneuve, who would have only been 6 points better off. We must also bear in mind that the lack of reliability around in those times may have played a major factor. Sebastian Vettel. After the Alonso years came to an acrimonious conclusion, Sebastian Vettel pressed the button on a contract clause at Red Bull to lead the Milton Keynes team and fulfill his childhood dream of driving for Ferrari in 2015, tracing the footsteps of his hero Michael Schumacher. In a similar story to Alonso, he scored an early win in Malaysia, beating the Mercedes cars of Hamilton and Rosberg. He would be an outsider for the title in 2015, with wins in Hungary and Singapore helping his bid. 2016, though, proved to be more of a struggle, but the change of aerodynamic regulations in 2017 gave Sebastian a shot at glory with Ferrari. Winning the opening race in Australia, Vettel and Hamilton traded wins throughout the season, with the Ferrari man ahead by the time the F1 circus rolled into Singapore. On race day, rain threw an extra dimension into the race, but Vettel, slow away, squeezed Verstappen off the line. Unbeknownst to Vettel, his teammate Kimi Raikkonen got off to a flyer. Contact was made, and Vettel ended up eliminated, while Hamilton avoided the contact and went on to win the race. Power unit issues in Malaysia further compounded Ferrari's demise in 2017, with Hamilton going on to secure his 4th World Championship. Ferrari and Vettel came back for more in 2018, possibly having the fastest car. Vettel won the opening 2 races this time, before crazy races in China and Baku hurt his early progress. His title ambitions took a nosedive at his home race in Germany. As rain began to fall, Vettel led, having started from pole, but being stuck behind Raikkonen, hurting his tyres. As Hamilton charged at the top 3 on fresh ultra softs, having started 14th, Vettel made a costly error at the Sachs curve, sliding off into the wall. Again, Vettel was out and Hamilton went on to win. Vettel would suffer further spins and lost points in Italy, Japan, and America, allowing Hamilton to cruise to title number 5. With 9 races of his time left at Maranello remaining, Sebastian has won on 14 occasions, with other podiums at 37 other races. Seb has scored 1,384 points, with his most successful season being 2018 with 5 victories. Before we mention some names who missed out on the 5 for this list, please take a second to click the subscribe and like buttons. Those 2 simple and easy clicks can be done in the same time it takes an F1 car to go from 0 to 60 miles an hour. So who else missed out? Ferrari have had so many great drivers, but who else could have featured? Nigel Mansell drove for Ferrari in 1989 and 1990, but ultimately won the World Championship after returning to Williams in 1991, claiming the crown in 92. Eddie Irvine stepped up to the plate when Michael Schumacher broke his leg at Silverstone in 1999, and he missed out to Mika Hakkinen in the McLaren that season. Rubens Barrichello was teammate to Schumacher from 2000 to 2005. Need I say any more? Who do you think was the most notable failure with Ferrari? I think it was Prost personally. Let me know down in the comments who you think it was. The checkered flag has fallen on this video. If you want to see more from the 5 red lights, check out my top 3 performance videos following each Grand Prix. If you like podcasts, find the 5 red lights podcast on Spotify, Google, Anchor, and many other podcast platforms. Thanks for watching. My name is Aaron, and the 5 red lights are out.